Chapter 1.26, Narrative Therapy. The atmosphere of Utopia was poisonous, not a physical poison but a mental one. After only a few minutes on the streets of this glitching world, the crew felt its effect. The captain, always so full of resolve, suddenly stopped and muttered, "Why are we even going anywhere?" Tako, for the first time in his life, felt no hunger. Even Lilith's cynicism began to crack, shifting not into irony but into raw, unrelenting despair. "He's right," she whispered, staring at a wandering Utopian with vacant eyes. "In the end, none of this matters." "No," John said firmly. He alone seemed immune to the influence of the Static of Nihilism. His recent discovery, his new mission, had forged an inner immunity. Meaning isn't something you find, it's something you create. He left the crew and returned to the airship, to the typewriter. He knew he had to act quickly, before apathy consumed his friends. He didn't write about the citizens of Utopia. He didn't write commands for reality. He began telling stories, their stories. The first thing he wrote was a short, vivid episode about the man in the cloak. He described his appearance in the lab, his strange but utterly sincere and all-consuming quest to find tacos. He described the absurdity of the situation, but also the purity of such a simple, tangible goal. As soon as he finished, on one of Utopia's empty, flawless streets, a small food truck materialized out of thin air. From its window leaned a smiling robot chef who shouted into the void, "Tacos, fresh tacos." The scent of sizzling meat and spices drifted through the air. A few Utopians wandering nearby stopped. They didn't approach, but for the first time in ages their blank eyes focused on something. A flicker of curiosity passed across their faces. Encouraged, John began to write about Lilith. He described her world, endless rain, neon, cyberpunk. He described her cynicism not as a weakness, but as armor forged in 100 unfinished plots. He described her choice to join them, to choose a mad adventure over dull oblivion. And in that moment, one of the sterile white skyscrapers outside flickered. Its facade lit up with holographic ads, neon glyphs glowing. From unseen speakers flowed the soft, melancholic sound of a saxophone. A group of Utopians, sitting on a flawless lawn, lifted their heads, listening to the unfamiliar yet enticing music. Then John wrote about the night, about his despair and sudden, absurd hope, embodied in a magical Swiss Army knife. He described his mad but determined assault on the tower. In the center of the city square, a fountain that had been endlessly glitching stabilized, and at its center a new statue appeared. A knight in shining armor, holding high not a sword, but a small red multi-purpose tool. A Utopian child, who had until then been absently drawing in the dust with a finger, approached the statue and touched it with wonder. The world was beginning to change. Stories were acting as an antidote. But the virus felt the threat. The sky, which had until then been gray and error-ridden, darkened to black. A cold wind swept the city, and from every speaker, from every alley, came a disembodied, synthesized voice. The voice of apathy itself. "This is meaningless. All stories end. All characters will be erased. Your struggle is nothing but a short, useless delay of inevitable oblivion." John felt the chill of that voice pierce him. There was a horrifying, undeniable truth in those words. His fingers froze above the keys. But then the airship door opened. Lilith stood in the doorway. The apathy in her eyes was gone, replaced by her usual steel determination. The others stood behind her. "He's right, genius," she said, walking up and placing a hand on his shoulder. "All stories end. That's why it's so damn important that they're interesting while they last." John looked at his crew. These refugees from different genres, rescued from boredom. He looked at the typewriter, and his resolve returned, stronger than before. He was ready to write the ending to this battle. He would write the most powerful story he knew, his own.